Hey guys, good morning. Mr. Birch here. We are going to be talking about colonization station number 5 today. Just wanted to take a look at it, give you some guidance here, and a couple free answers. So we're going to start out with the Google Doc here, station number 5. So make sure you're looking at this one, okay? And station number 5 is really about a political cartoon, okay? And as you guys can see here, the scramble for Africa in 1880 and 1914. So as we look at this political cartoon, all right, we notice that there are 8 characters here, and each of them have a corresponding European country attached to them, okay? Each of these characters, you guys can see, are exerting great force of trying to pull the continent of Africa towards them. And as we zoom in here, if you notice, the continent of Africa looks like it's kind of made out of paper. Well, we know that paper, it rips and it tears easily, and it doesn't always tear very evenly, okay? So each of these countries are trying to get the biggest piece of Africa when it tears. All right, so as we go back here, let's look at the first question here. And these 3 questions, guys, will be worth written communication. All right, so make sure that you are answering them using complete sentences, have good spelling, good grammar, all that stuff, okay? So station number 5, according to the cartoon, which European countries were fighting for a position in Africa? Well, that's really easy. We can just go around and write down each of the countries that we see here, okay? So there should be 8 total. All right, so an example answer there would be, according to the cartoon, Great Britain, Spain, France, Italy, Portugal, Germany, Holland, and Belgium were the countries fighting to colonize Africa. All right, and so then we can begin to look at question number 2. What do you think is the message of this cartoon? Well, as we look at the message, once again, we're looking at 8 countries trying to pull apart one big continent, okay? And like we talked about, when these countries pull this piece of paper, it's going to rip, all right? It might rip in 8 different ways. It might rip in 12 different ways, okay? But it's going to tear the continent of Africa and pull it apart, all right? And each European country is going to have a significant portion of that part, all right? So we look at question number 2, all right? Once again, we're going to restate the answer. The message of this cartoon is that European countries are trying to get as much of the continent of Africa as they can. So as we talked about, okay, if Italy's pulling here, he's trying to get the biggest portion of Africa that he can get. He wants the biggest piece possible, so he's pulling as hard as he can. Just like Belgium over here is also pulling as hard as they can because they want to get the biggest piece as well. All right. Finally, let's look at question number 3. How did the scramble for Africa in the 1800s and 1900s affect the current borders of Africa? Okay, so for this question, we're going to need to go to the next slide, slide number 10, and look at the 2 different maps that we have here. So on the left-hand side, we have Africa, the continent of Africa in 1913. On the right-hand side, we have Africa today, what present-day Africa looks like. And there's a lot of similarities and differences between these, and we could spend a lot of time looking at those and comparing them. But the biggest thing we need to look at are the boundaries here and the spaces compared to 1913 compared to now. And as we notice, today, there are a lot more borders and boundaries with these countries and just more countries in general than there were in 1913. Well, why might that be? A big driving force for that is the fact that Africa, the continent of Africa, began to get used to, after all this intense imperialism by these European colonies, they began to get used to the idea of creating borders, all right, and distinctly labeling what territory belongs to what group of people, all right, or what government. Okay, so as we move back to the answer here, okay, oh, did it kick me out? No, good. Okay, number 3. How did the scramble for Africa in the 1800s and 1900s affect the current borders of Africa? Okay, our example answer there is the scramble for Africa set an example for the future sectioning off of the African continent. Okay, so those are, like I said, just an example of 3 answers you could have there for station number 5, but I wanted to make sure I went over those with you. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, but other than that,